everyone, welcome back to Studioloo. It's Cindy. So I am going to just do a bit of casual catch-up ephemera today for the fairy journals because we're still working on those. It's going to be a little while longer till those are done. So I'm just probably going to be doing a bit of repetitive work this morning, but I wanted to just turn on the camera and spend a little time, here because it's a good thing and it's good to just share the progress. I know there are a lot of people following this journey of these journals, and it's just kind of nice to just film. So where am I with this? I have used like my whole entire box of ephemera practically, and I've made a little bit more like off camera. I'll show you a few things. So I cut out a bunch of Amity Bloom ephemera that I want to that I have been incorporating into the journals because I think they're really nice for a fairy journal. These ones, I'm trying to remember if they're from, I think they might be from the Everyday ephemera or the Everyday Journal ephemera. They're like these really beautiful floral tab pockets, and there's some really cute tags and stuff. So I've got those, and then I'll show you what I've kind of been doing. So I've made little bits and bobs of things, and I'm right now just going through like these larger pages that I like to use as the type of ephemera that you would clip on with a paper clip because it's large, or the things that I like to keep whole because the whole picture is just so beautiful, these rainbow fairies. So I make them into stationery and they tuck into pockets and things. I love this like Egyptian looking fairy. It's so cool. This is art by Eric Kincaid from a book called Stories of Fairies, and it's just really neat. And then I've been harvesting from some nature books and things, and I made all of these they're like little tip out kind of things, so I've used a few of those. But yeah, I just need to keep working along, making ephemera for a little while before I continue adding to the books, but I'm kind of getting there. I'm working along. I'll see if there's enough stuff for me to kind of continue this signature too. So I'm on this signature, the second one from the Orange Fairy Journal, and you'll see here's one of those tip outs. So most of them tip out from side to side, but this one I added as a flip up because, hold on. See this bird? I just think that's a nice way to present this page. Hopefully you can see the whole page. And then I added a little pocket down here with the same, the cutoff piece. And then this big journal card in here with these mushrooms. So yeah, I think that it comes together nicely. And then for this one, I added a little pocket up here, and this is a really cute little poem. Where do fairies come from? You really want to know. And are they very tiny, or do they sometimes grow? There are many kinds of fairies, and most you'll never see. They hide in secret places like a plant or nest or tree. And so that's a cute little tuck in there. And then this is an owl image with these baby owls, and so I use that as a pocket to add this tag to, and I stitched some of my handmade yarn here, or hand spun yarn rather. And then I have started making a couple of fabric flips. So this is from the lovely fabric that was given to me by Marnell from Mimi's Keepsakes, and so that's one of them. I kind of had fun just kind of like using shapes and different cuts, creating that one. And then this one, I did that similar technique that I did in like Tuesday, was it Tuesday 10? Maybe, I can't recall. I think my last Tuesday 10, I was talking about how to make these like topped pages. So I did this one with these apples. And that whole piece of stationery in there. And over here, this little mushroom card. So yeah, I'm just working my way through. We did a lace belly band here with another piece of stationery. And then this one I just did like a tip up. It's like a little piece of the Cecile Mary Barker book. And then I got to here. And that's where I left off, and now need to create more ephemera because I don't want to use like too much of the same kind of ephemera in one of the journals. Like I don't want it to be repetitive. So keep going here. I don't want to put anything on that page. I think it's good. This one I do. As much as I like that I covered this, I feel like it's a little I should have went to the edge, I think. So I might do something like this here. That would actually be kind of a nice color combo. I just need to trim this pocket a bit. So I will do that and add that as a pocket up there. So yeah, it's the weekend finally. It has been such a long week, and I think next week's going to be equally long. Adult life, you know, it's a lot of stuff to do. I'm thinking about just canceling any kind of appointments that I have like for the rest of summer, because I'm just like, I just don't want to have any things to do. I don't know. There's something about like this time and this past, the way we've lived for a couple of years, that kind of make me feel like even the smallest things can be a little overwhelming at times. So I don't know. I'm just a busy bee. But my adventure yesterday, let me see, I'll find the picture so I can also try to show it to you while we're here. So I was getting ready. We wanted to go to the library yesterday to get some new books. And as we're leaving the house, my daughter had gotten in the car, and then, you know, I was about to come around and like get her buckled in the back, and all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, Mom!" And then she like jumps out of the car and she runs, you know, onto the sidewalk, and she's like, "Look, look, look!" And what do I see but this little baby skunk, and he's got a limp. He's got a little, like, you know, a little hop along kind of way of walking, and I was like, oh no. I am like Snow White in my life, but far less like lucky. I don't get any little dwarf friends or little gnome friends. I don't get any of that. I don't get to like walk into the forest singing in a high tone with all these birds flying out of my hair or anything. No. I get like stinky boys, angry boys. Like this is just how life goes. So look at this sweet pea. I don't know, hopefully you can see him without too much glare on my phone. Look at that baby though. What a cutie, right? So yeah, he was so cute. He or she, I shouldn't call him a he. I was just calling him Stinky Boy. So he's very cute, and I ended up calling the rescue. Well, actually, I should tell you the story. So he wandered over like across the street where my neighbor's house is, and I was like, okay, I'll try to get him. And then he went in between the houses. So I had gone in my house and gotten a cardboard box. And so I thought, I'll just, you know, I'll do this in a way that I don't get sprayed, hopefully. That's the big goal. But I'll try. So I did. And I got the box, and he's like walking down the sort of the side of the house, and then my neighbor came out. He was going to work, and I called to him and I said, just be careful. There's a skunk right beside your house. I'm going to try to get it in a box because it has a limp, and I want to try to get the rescue to come, you know, take care of it, because also it was too young to be by itself. It's still at the age that it should be with mom. So I'm guessing they got separated or it got hurt, and, you know, unfortunately with animals, like, they can't always look after an injured one because, you know, that's nature. So, but I mean, that being said, it's a healthy little skunk, and I think if it just gets a little rehab, it'll be fine. And I could tell like the leg didn't look broken because it was walking on it. If it were broken, probably it would be either dragging it or not moving. Animals are pretty resilient, but you know, they're not going to walk on a broken leg just like we wouldn't. So I see him, and at this point I had kind of like went into my house again because I felt like the box that I had wasn't big enough. It wasn't a good enough shield. So I ran in real fast, grabbed another box, came back out. My neighbor said, "I don't think you're going to get him. He's gone under the fence to the other neighbor's backyard." I said, "Oh, okay, well, I'm going to try." So I went down and I looked, and surely enough, he was gone. And I thought, like, the way the houses are, there's like a gap between each house in this neighborhood. And so I thought, I'll go down the other side and I'll see if he just simply walks in the backyard and comes out the other side. Well, that's exactly what he did. So I was able to hide behind the air conditioning unit from my neighbor's house, and I'm like, creepy like neighbor between my two other neighbors' houses. And I'm standing there with this box, and I see him come out, and he's walking like kind of slowly on these, my neighbors have these rocks between their houses. So it's probably not easy to walk on in his condition. So I just stayed very quiet, and he didn't see me, but I had a good vantage point to see him. So as he got in front of me, I'm hiding behind the compressor, and I just came up close like fast and put the box over top of him. But he was a little too close to the wall of one of my neighbor's houses. So what actually happened was the flap of the cardboard box had collapsed, and I had trapped him underneath it. So at this point, I have gentle pressure on the box because I know that I've kind of pancaked him gently. Didn't hurt him at all, I promise, underneath the box. And so I thought, okay, so I've got to redo this. So as I was coming down on him, he was definitely doing the little stance they do where they put their tail right up in the air and they try to point their bum at you so they can spray you. So I thought, okay. And he had definitely sprayed. I mean, it was definitely stinky, and he had sprayed the box and probably my neighbor's house a little bit. But we won't worry about that for now. So I kind of did a reset, thought about how to do it as I held the box on him, and then I found a little piece of like a cedar plank in between the two houses, and I grabbed it and I used it as like a little spatula to scoop him into the box. So then I was like, okay, I only have one shot at this, and thankfully it worked. I flipped the box over fast, closed the flaps, and I had a skunk in a box. So that worked out well. Then I called our city and got connected to the animal rescue, which is our animal. We have a really amazing animal services here. They're not your typical like animal control that will like euthanize things, and they're not like that. They're actually very connected with things like the Ontario Turtle Conservation Center. Like their goal is to take care of injured wildlife and then return it where it came from. Like that's, and then they do organize with other like rescue facilities that have wildlife, like long-term rescues or permanent, where they need to have a place to live out their days because they've been injured, that kind of thing. So I feel very confident whenever I call them. They also give you a reference number. They allow you to follow up on the animal. And they also ask you, would you like a call when we re-release this animal, so that you can be present? And I've always said yes to that, and I've had such a great time, especially with turtles. Like when I've had a turtle that's been hit by a car or, has sustained some kind of an injury, that's always my favorite thing to do. It's like the bright light of the situation is that they got to rehab. It usually takes about almost a year, depending on the injury. We had to wait about 9 months one time for a turtle that had been hit by a car. I was like so stressed out. I found him on the 401 highway, and I had seen this carload of people that were trying to, I guess, like help as best they knew. So they took him off the road, and the big thing with snapping turtles is they're so scared of getting like bit. There's a lot of myths around snapping turtles, and so usually you see people trying to get them off the road and they don't know how to handle them correctly, and they're doing their best, and they have good intentions at heart. I won't knock that at all, but like sometimes unfortunately it can make the situation like not ideal. I wouldn't say worse, but leaving them in the road is worse, but not ideal. So they'd taken him off and they kind of tossed him into like this embankment of brush, I guess. So, I thought, okay, so we turned the car around and I got the turtle and he had a broken jaw. So, I didn't know that at first, but we just basically loaded him up, and the end result is that he had a broken jaw, so he had to be rehabbed for a while. They repaired his jaw, and it was so nice to get to see him re-released into the pond where he came from, and yeah. So anyways, back to the skunk. As always, I'm getting off topic. So I waited for a long time last night, like an hour for them to come get him. Like usually they're there within like 10-15 minutes. Like I had a baby dove with a broken wing in my backyard one time. 5 minutes they're there. Usually it's birds and they're there right away. But of course, because it was a skunk, I had to wait like at least an hour, maybe longer, I think. My husband, went to pick up dinner because our whole evening plans were like kiboshed. And then, my daughter was playing outside with our neighbor. They were having a great time. And me, I was just like literally sitting beside this box with this baby skunk. So then it started to bite and scratch the box. And I was thinking to myself, this could be a real problem if the skunk gets through the box. Like they bite a hole and then they rip at it and then they get out. So that was not what I wanted. So then I thought, okay, I better get a second box. So it's like a double box situation. If he gets out, he'll get into the other box. So that's what I did. And then I sat beside it and waited and waited. So finally the two animal services women showed up and they were great. They like came up to me and I explained, I said, so I've double boxed, I've put him in 2 boxes so that like in case he gets out of one, he's probably not going to be able to, harm you in any way because there's another box there. So I said, you can take both these with you. And they said, oh, okay, great, thanks. And they kind of looked at me like, okay, lady, like, and I didn't really catch it at first, but I just thought, well, I sort of did, but I thought to myself, I'm sure they deal with people like this all the time, giving them advice with what's wrong with the animal and what to do and that kind of, like, I didn't want to sound like that, so I just, kind of waited, and, they took the box from me, and then they put the box down on the ground, and, like, it was so weird, because I watched the one woman bend down, and she just reefed it open, like both flaps opened it right wide up, and I was like, what, because I had been just like peeking inside. So then all of a sudden she sort of takes a little bit of a jump back and she goes, oh, it's a skunk. I said, yeah. And she's like, they told us it was a squirrel. And I said, oh my gosh. So all this time you've been thinking I was some crazy lady who double boxes a squirrel. So yeah, then the two of them kind of looked at each other like, oh Lord, what are we going to do with a skunk, right? And I said, I'm so sorry, did I just ruin your Friday night? And they cracked up laughing and like, so they said, no, we just have to, rejig our plan a little bit with what we're going to do with this skunk. So I said, oh, okay. And so, they sat there and they kind of thought about it and they like talked a little in their truck and put him in the, the air-conditioned unit and stuff. And so I said to them, like, I'd had a couple neighbors tell me that, like, one neighbor had said that they'd seen him actually in the morning wandering around the neighborhood. And another neighbor told me, like, oh yeah, I saw him this afternoon. He was way up the street walking and a bunch of kids were, like, stalking him. They're lucky they didn't get sprayed. And I'm always like, when I get this anecdotal kind of thing said to me, I'm like, why don't you help this poor animal? Like, why don't you at minimum call, like, somebody? But I think the thing is, people, I've noticed anyways, like, I get annoyed and then I immediately get a little bit like considerate of others' perspectives, right? So I think, when people see a skunk, that's the last thing they want to get involved with. But also I think when most people see an animal, I think, not most people, but some people, it's like in your heart to help right away. And and maybe some people that can be a little too much too. Like sometimes, it's like finding the baby fawn in the forest and then someone immediately wants to quote unquote rescue it. Meanwhile, you should just leave it alone because it's waiting for its mom. But like people don't know this. I don't think nature education is as common as it once was. Sorry, I'm just grabbing a couple of pages here. Like when I was a kid, I can definitely say that nature education was something that, and conservation education was something that I was taught in school. It was taught in my household. I watched it on TV. I got like Owl TV or Owl Magazine when I was a kid. I watched David Suzuki. I watched Lauren Green. A lot of programming for kids was like, it was nature programming. And also like, it was different nature programming. Like these days I feel like, I used to love nature documentaries. That was like my favorite kind of viewing, like David Attenborough. Still love him to bits. But nowadays, it's almost like you're watching a Werner Herzog film. Like it's just dystopian, horrible, like, their environments are being destroyed and they're gone, or like they're facing extinction, or, these animals are, like it used to just be you had to be stressed about animals like predator-prey situations, right? But you could also understand that because it was like the order of nature. But now it's like horrible, right? It's like human beings are destroying the planet, and you're seeing all these unfortunate and awful like ends for things, right? So I think that's a part of why it's changed, and that people are like unfortunately less educated, so therefore also less empathetic, or they don't know that they can help. Like our little neighbor, she's in grade 4. She's a little older than my daughter, but my daughter plays with her. She's a really nice girl. And, she said to me last night, like, we didn't know, like, that you could, like, how to call the animal people. And so, it was actually kind of a nice experience because she had come over and she said, can I see the skunk? I said, yeah, of course. So, like, I opened the flap and I showed her, and, she was like, I would say she had a decent learning experience last night. She was like, oh, like, what is it doing? Like, it's chewing. And I said, well, I think it's probably hungry, probably thirsty, because it was a hot day and it's been wandering around all day with no food or water, or its mom. And so, like, it was good because they're like, oh, well, what do skunks eat? And I said, believe it or not, they eat a lot of insects, but they also will eat small rodents like mice and rats and rabbits. They're mostly carnivores. So I got to kind of give a little bit of like a lesson about skunks, and I showed them a video of like how cute skunks are when they run all in parallel beside each other, like beside their mom when they're babies. That's like one of my favorite things. They're so cute. So yeah, that was the nice part of it. So then as the rescue people kind of came out and they gave me like the info to, follow up on the skunk and stuff, they said I could call within about 30 minutes because the vet was still at the shelter. And he would have had time to kind of assess pretty quickly because it was the end of the day. So I ended up saying to them, I'm so sorry, like next Friday night I'll buy you a drink, right? Like just joking with them. And then off the skunk went, and I ended up calling, and they told me that basically the leg's not broken, but it's definitely like sprained or sore, right? So they're just going to rehab the skunk for a little while, but it will be until it's old enough to be released on its own, because it still needs to be supplemented with like, cat milk, like mother's milk, because it's not old enough to be only on a diet of like solid foods, basically. Sorry, we have a little there. I've had one fruit fly in my studio for like 2 days now, and I've been slowly stalking it. I don't know if I just got it. I probably didn't. It's my own fault though, because I accidentally left a smoothie glass down in my studio, and in the summertime it does not take long because we have a garden for the evil fruit flies to emerge. So we keep we keep a little my husband has this way of sort of trapping them. It's like a little glass container, and you put some, I think it's red wine vinegar and inside, and then you cover it with plastic wrap and then poke a few little holes, and they're really attracted to it. And then by the next morning, every fruit fly in your house will be inside this this red wine mixture, and you can just get rid of it. And it works really well, actually. So I may do that if I see that thing again. I'll just set up the red wine down here and red wine vinegar. But yeah, they're very pesky. Went to the garden this morning, and there's lots of little tomatoes growing on the vine, and I ate a few fresh strawberries, which was nice. I got to sneak them while everybody's asleep. I don't have to share them. My most exciting garden news is that my mulberry trees have finally started fruiting. This is their 5th year in the ground, and I planted them. I grew them from seed. They're red mulberry. Mulberry trees for many years. There was like a blight that took them out, and there weren't many of them. I mean, it's still very impactful. Like, that's why you can buy pretty much every kind of berry in grocery stores, but you never see mulberries really. So I love both white and red mulberries. My trees are red, and they've been so weird. So they have taken forever to get big, but then like a couple years ago, they had a massive growth spurt. And they went from probably 3 feet tall to like, I don't know, 9 feet tall. But they were really spindly on top. And I thought, this isn't good. Like, this is some kind of an unnatural growth. Like, I don't know. So I wasn't sure how they would do. And so I just kind of have tried to stay patient about it and like hope for the best. So over this long time, there were years where they didn't grow any leaves at all. And then I thought, for 1 year, I was like, these are dead. Like, I should just remove them. They're just taking up garden space, and they're not producing anything, and I don't think it's going to get any better. So, you know, I was pretty bound and bent on, like, getting rid of them. But then I sort of thought about it again, and I was like, you know, they're really beautiful trees. They're very leafy, and that's great. And, you know, why get rid of them? Let's give them a chance. And then I ended up Googling how, like, what should be happening with a tree this age kind of thing. So I found out that it's actually pretty normal behavior, that they take quite a long time. They actually ended up, like, I had planted 2 of them. Then somehow a third one popped up by itself. I don't know how that happened. Like, I think they pollinate, or, you know, like they kind of cross-pollinate one another. And I don't know how a third tree arrived beside them, but it has. So now I have 3 of them, and they're all the same size now. Like, that one caught up with the others really quickly. And now it's in the I have no leaves, I'm so sad stage. But the weird thing is that even though it has no leaves, it grew fruit at the very top. It grew a few tiny leaves, and it grew fruit at the top. So yeah, that's the mulberry adventure. And my husband, like, he was out, and he's way taller than me, so he saw the fruit, and he brought it into me, and he's like, hey, guess what? And he opened his hand up, and I was like, enjoy, because mulberries are my very favorite thing. They are like, it's hard to, if you haven't had them, it's hard to explain. They are rubbery, but they're like, they have lots of little chambers like a raspberry does, but like they're a little more firm, and they have this squeaky rubberiness to them when you eat them, and they're really sweet. I actually like them slightly underripe. I like them a little tart. I even eat them when they're green from the white mulberry tree, because they just have this fresh palate cleansing taste to them. They're actually really nice in a salad. And there's a few different varieties. Some of the trees are like umbrella style trees, and then other ones are just huge. Like they'll just grow like a regular tree. So my objective with mine is to keep them to a decent low size, so they're like a mulberry bush. And like they overhang a little onto my neighbor's side of the fence, but he does not mind. So, yeah, that's the mulberry situation. I have a lot of weeding to do though. I went out and I was looking at the garden, and there is a lot of weeding to be done. I'm going to do it on Sunday, because today I'm going to go out and do something fun. I'm going to go to the local scrapbook store because they have the new Tim Holtz color Uncharted Mariner, and I want to get the ink and the oxide because they're considerably different. I think I also want to get the embossing glaze because I just really like this color, and they're also having a 20% off sale, so I may get something else. And I'll mention, I haven't mentioned it yet. I'm going to do a little maybe separate video about it. But, you know, I think if you're still with me right now, then you're one of those people who watches my videos. And I'll let you know that I've decided I'm going to launch, or I have launched, it's already up, a Patreon. And, you know, I didn't for quite a while. Like, I used to think about, like, doing one years ago for just my existing kind of yarn business that I had. But I thought, like, you know, I want there to be a way that I can give out rewards more than just, like, physical things. Because that becomes a little hard to, like, sustain. It can be expensive and hard to, you know, sustain. So that being said, I now, of course, can do that. I can create content. I can provide digital things. I can have like giveaways and draws and like, you know, podcasts and all different kinds of things. And it's like, I've been thinking about it from the perspective of like, you know, I really miss blogging, and I'm not a really big fan of social media, except for like, I like Instagram. I like, you know, I like watching TikToks, but they're kind of a time suck. I have to be careful how much time I allow myself there. You know, I obviously like YouTube, but I don't like Facebook. I'll be honest. I don't use it other than to just sort of share to it from other places, or to respond to comments, or to just keep up with people via Messenger. I don't like the volatile space that it has become, and that it has been for a very long time. It's not for me. It's not how I want to communicate with people. I don't want to, you know, have everybody in my life in one bucket that I can discuss different things with. Like you know, just like here, I don't really discuss like politics, you know, like, although, you know, I do talk about some issues that could be, they could be painted as political, but see, that's the problem, right? I think a lot of things, they become political when really they're not. They're about someone or a couple people both probably having good intentions in the end, but those people have like different perspectives on how something should be done, and there still be a good intention. And not everything is like that. I'm not going to say that I'm like centrist, because I'm not. But I do think there's a lot of things, like when we talk about something like what to do, how to be during, you know, COVID, right? That's one of those things where I think we all speak from our own experience, and we also don't fully understand other people's situations. Like, you know, why would you go out to, you know, to go to work when you don't have to? Or something. So maybe it's like, well, you don't have to, but I've started to notice that, you know, the optics at my corporate job or something, people are starting to, you know, think that I'm not a team player because I don't come in, and you know, for me, I'm just using that as an example. That's not the case in my life. I have an agreement with my job about my attendance. But like, I think a lot of people are dealing with this surge right now of some people who are saying, oh, this is all over with, and other people who are saying, no, it isn't. And that we're living in a time, right, of the worst misinformation I've ever seen. I've never in my all my years alive, like, and there's not a lot of them, but there's quite a few. I mean, it feels like there's a lot of them. You know, I'm certainly not like an ancient scholar or anything, but like I can say in my whole life, I've never felt like people are so misguided and they don't know who to believe or what to do most of the time. And it's caused, I think, a lot of panic, a lot of strife, and just, that's the kind of stuff that I don't need every day in my life. Like I still stay very on top of like issues and things because I care about things like, you know, social equality and justice, and I care about, you know, I care about COVID, but I try to do my very best to go places that I feel in my life are experts on those subjects. Like if I'm looking for information on the current state of COVID, I go to epidemiologists, and you know, there, you can still use social media for that. You just have to really think about, is this an expert or is this someone who has just emotion-based opinions, right? So I go to Twitter because there are a lot of, I basically follow two types of people on Twitter: epidemiologists and comedians. I don't know, it's just the way things go for me. That's what Twitter is for me. And so it's like, it's actually kind of nice. It's like a beautiful blend of things to laugh at and you know, public health. And yeah. What paper do I want to use for this one? I want to keep this one like a tall tag, but it needs to be a little bit firmer than what it is. But I don't want it like super thick. I need cardstock, or this. This will work. This super old scrapbook paper. But yeah, I think that having a Patreon is going to be something that I can do really actively, and I can share a lot of things. Because, like, you know, when you have lived a life as a person who's a creative in many, many mediums like I am, I have a lot of archives. I have things like, I used to publish my own magazine, and I have an archive of that. I used to, I mean, I design patterns, knitting and crochet patterns. You know, I have lots of recipes for creative challenges because I used to host a lot of like things. Like my my interest in community building through the internet goes back, I mean, I don't even know how long, so long. Like it's probably, I don't know when I started to use the internet, but even if I just think that it's 2022, definitely I was using the internet before the year 2000, you know, and maybe as early as like, I don't know, 95, I don't know. But like, that's a long time. It's 2022. And I've been doing things like, I used to have all these fun little trade sites where you would send, I mean, what we call Happy Mail now. It was like a mail exchange kind of group that I had through websites like diaryland.com and LiveJournal and Yahoo forums and oh my gosh, so many places. And like everything from like making your own fridge magnets and exchanging them. It was this group that I created called Fridge Love, and and I have all these, you know, I actually still have friends from all of that. When I used to do it, I started my own little t-shirt business where I was doing like t-shirts. Like I've done so much stuff, and a lot of it I actually have some really great kind of stuff. And then the other thing is I do a lot of you know, thrifting of antique things, so I can definitely share a lot of scans of really cool old stuff. And you know, I'm doing a lot of digital collage and illustration, and I'm making a lot of my own ephemera, so I can start to share stuff like that that isn't, you know, commercially created. And I can I think I can find a nice space there where I feel like I can share a little bit more than what I do here. So yeah, that will be linked below in my description box now. And you know, you can definitely come along if you like. There are 3 tiers. I just went with the standard recommended tiers for now. This one I'm just going to keep it as a piece of ephemera as is. And then we have this fairy ring. So cute. This like grandmother with this like a ring of these little fairies. To make a pocket with that, it's very cute. But yeah, I think I'll do like a bit of a little launch video to my Patreon, and I'll explain a few things. Like I've already shared, like the way that the system is going to work is just, there's an entry level one where I will share monthly, like digital content, and probably a few times a month because I know what I'm like. I'm going to start doing projects that are Patreon exclusive. I'm still going to continue here on YouTube as my primary, obviously, but I will have some projects that I do only on Patreon that are more tutorials and more stuff that I'm just working on in the background, things that I don't have the time to have all on YouTube, like to share all the time. It's really pretty. Will that fit there and I can use it? No. What about this? Oh, hold on. If I fold the little flap, do I get a little more room? I do. So yeah, that is my latest venture here. And I shared a bunch of digitals yesterday because I wanted to sort of build up a little bank. Like, so there will be like the entry level tier. You will get, you know, monthly content. I've committed to a few different things, and then the second tier you'll get all of that, plus you'll get access to the full entire digital library. So all the digitals that I post on Patreon will be on that second tier, and then the third tier is going to be all of that plus 4 times a year I'll send you a monthly, or sorry, an ephemera mail, like a happy mail of ephemera, like a greeting. And then I will also have a draw probably twice a year for a big happy mail that will be like a whole journal and probably a yarn. Or I may even give some options, you know, we'll see when we get there. But like, yeah, I think that will be a lot of fun. And I've limited the top tier, the number of spaces, so that I don't overcommit. But yeah, it's manageable, and I think it will be fun. And I feel like I have a nice kind of space now to like share my work, share my blogs, you know, share whatever I may be working on. Because there's times where I feel like, oh, all I want to do today is just illustrate like a page of, you know, cute like little bunnies or something. And what can I do with that, right? And now I can share it with you. Or maybe I want to do a little tutorial about felting. I can share that there. I could share it here too, but some stuff I just kind of want to, even for things that I feel like it's my intellectual property, I don't want to give like everything away for free. I think that's a really important thing to do as an artist or a creative, especially if you spent a lot of time, like I have, developing your own, like, you know, workshops. Honestly, like I have taught so many workshops in different creative mediums, many of them art yarn spinning, but also felting, and even some like freeform crochet, and I've even done like collage and illustration stuff. Like, I mean, I've just done a lot of different things throughout time. I've done pottery. Actually have a ceramics studio in my house. So yeah, there's lots of stuff. And also that will feed things like giveaways. If I decide I just want to make a whole bunch of like little soap dishes one day, then I can like have a little giveaway of a few of them. That would be fun. Okay, but I think I have done enough of this now that it's time to stitch, so I will probably work on that. And thank you for joining me for this little chittery chattery fairy ephemera making session here, and I will talk to you all again very soon. If you want to check out my Patreon or any of my other stuff, my social media, just go below in the description box, and I hope you have a really fun weekend. I hope you don't have any injured skunk visitors and that you do some thrifting or you get outside, because hopefully it's beautiful where you are. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.